Well, many people deal with winter depression, but what if it gets actually too difficult that you need that extra help? We're here to talk to us about that is Micah Soboto. He's the Director of Crisis Stabilization Unit at Coleman Health Services. So welcome, Micah.
Thank you for always having us.
All right, so winter depression, quite common, but sometimes it can get pretty bad.
It can, and that's where we at Coleman Health Services at the Crisis Center is there for us. 24/7, 365 days a year. We have anytime somebody's not quite sick enough for a hospital admission, but maybe not quite good enough to go home, I think that's where the Crisis Center really comes into play. So with the Crisis Center, we can have an admission and see a nurse practitioner or a doctor, get some counseling in there also, and ultimately stabilize. So that when what's stabilized, good enough to go back home and back to the community.
Yeah, so you have outpatient, you have inpatient. It depends on what your needs are, right?
Without a doubt. Coleman Health Services has many programs. We have their Crisis Center. Of course, we have outpatient services. Outpatient services, so many programs within that outpatient services. One area also that I direct is the first episode psychosis team. And anybody dealing with that first mental break and that first psychosis, we wrap around. That's the time we wrap around them, wrap around that very critical time so that we get case management involved, psychiatry involved, counseling involved, employment services. It's not just a one-stop shop. It's wrapping around because it's multiple needs that needs to be met.
Lots of services there. It used to be, people thought, something like that was like kind of like a, forbidden, like, there was something wrong with me, I don't want to admit it. But now it's so common, people are always looking for that extra help, whether it be like a therapy session or medication or whatever it may be, So do you find that, people are kind of opening up to that now a little bit more?
We're getting there, and it starts with us, and you having us on here is tremendous because we got to break the stigma. Not only with the stigma of the disease state, mental health, addiction, there are disease states. There's a chemical imbalance in the body, and we've got to fix that chemical imbalance. And being a pharmacist, I love medications, but I'm also a realist also. Medications, I just can't throw a pill at somebody and say you're fixed. We've got to wrap around. We've got to incorporate counseling services that you mentioned, somebody to talk to. Because with that talk therapy, we're actually changing behaviors. It's very key because we can't keep doing the same thing over and over and over again. But when we get talk therapy, case management, then add the medications, that's when we're seeing the best bang for our buck.
Right, I like that you said you can't do the same thing over and over and over again, because if you do the same thing, guess what? You get the same results.
Same results.
Exactly.
Every time.
Exactly. So you are open 24/7.
Yes.
Is it easy do you have to book an appointment? Can you walk in? How does that work?
No, for the Crisis Center, you walk in. And I'm not saying it's right, you fast things, but you will be met with a smiling face, and you'll get first thing, you'll get into some paperwork to get ultimately see a nurse real quick to get that assessment. And that starts the ball rolling. Now, that doesn't mean that everybody has to stay there. Our goal to get an assessment is to stay at the CSU, but we also have our outpatient services. With our outpatient services, those clients might say, I don't want to stay, but I need to get some help. And then we get the ball rolling with a diagnostic assessment to see what needs need to be met.
Right, so the outpatient services, they can still just kind of walk in and just say, this is what I want.
Yes.
This is what I'm looking for.
What I'm looking for, and we set up appointment times.
Yeah, so one of those things that I always think about is, what I said before, is that it used to be a stigma with if you needed help, you're crazy or you're weak or whatever it may be, but it's just so common now, with just life in general.
Life is stressful.
Yeah. So
every day. I think we're starting to accept that more and more. And ultimately, that's what we got to do is break the stigmas of the disease states and also the treatments with those. Because you heard it, oh, I'm crazy. Well, people also say, oh, I got to take my crazy pill. No, it's not the case at all. You're taking medications to help that chemical imbalance.
Exactly. Now, if somebody wants to reach out or just see what Coleman Services has to offer, you have a website.
We do, of course, have a website with Coleman Health Services. If there's ever a question, I always say this: utilize our Hope line, 1-800-567-HOPE, or commonly referred to as the state initiative 988. If there's any time that a question arises in a crisis or in more education pieces of our services, 988 is exactly where to turn to.
Right, and tell everyone where your location is in case they'd like to stop by.
At the Crisis Center, we're located at 797 South Main Street, but our main campus, or main, is 799 South Main Street.
All right, so Micah, thank you so much for coming on today. I appreciate it.
Thank you for being a partner with us.
All right, well, don't go away because medical news is coming up next.